This is Louise for MMA Crazy. We're here with Dan Hardy. How are you feeling today?
I'm good. It's a little early in the morning for me with it being before noon, but other than that, I'm good.
And what's your transition been like from fighting to commentating?
It's actually been a lot smoother than I thought, to be honest. I mean, a lot of the research that I do for the commentating job is very similar to what I was doing as a fighter. The only difference is, as a fighter, I was focusing on one person intensely for 8 weeks, whereas now I'm learning about 20 fighters every 2 weeks. So it's a lot more studying, a lot more tape watching, but I'm enjoying it. It's a great challenge for me.
Do you see yourself competing again? Do you have any urges?
I do, especially now I'm sitting at octagon side all the time. I'm watching these guys fight. I very much want to get in there myself, and I'm thinking I'm going to look to get cleared next year to fight, and then towards the end of next year and the beginning of the year after. I'm in no rush, but I think I've got a couple more yet.
What's your current opinion on the welterweight landscape?
I think it's scary. I think everybody in the division's a killer, and the main event for the Stockholm card is going to be a real interesting one for the top 10. And obviously we've got Gastelum fighting Jake Ellenberger soon as well, so we could see some big changes in the division, and we need a few people to approach that top 5 and start shaking it up, because it has the potential for one of them to pick up the belt like Johnny Hendricks or possibly Robbie Lawler and just lock the division down for a while. So the more contenders we've got, the better.
So if you were to be thrown in right now, where do you think you would fit in?
Oh, I don't know. I'm not even sure I'd be in that weight class anymore. I'm a bit smaller than I used to be. I'm not sure, to be honest. There's a lot of good fights, and to be honest, it's a little disappointing because when I was fighting in the weight class, most people were wrestlers. There were a lot of big, strong wrestlers, and now it seems to be a lot more kickboxers. Everyone wants to stand and trade punches, which would have been much more suitable for me, but I don't know. I'm not sure where I'd fall. I keep looking at the lightweight division as well and thinking that there'd be some good fights for me there.
Who do you think you'd match up well against, in obviously looking at both divisions?
That's a tough one to say. Matt Brown will always be on my mind because that was the fight I was supposed to have before I was taken out of the bout. And then in the lightweight division, there's a lot of good guys. I don't like the fact that Diego Sanchez got a win over Ross Pearson because I don't think he deserved it. And I think Diego would be a great fight for me. But other than that, I don't know. I mean, obviously we've got Eddie Alvarez coming into the division now, and he's really stirring things up. So I'm just sitting back and watching right now.
So you're commentating this Saturday. Obviously the main event is welterweight. Do you ever, or do you think you will be kind of analysing them in a way that you would do if you were going to be fighting them?
To be honest, I do that for every weight class now. I always did it when I was competing for lightweight and middleweight, just because there's always a possibility of one guy moving up or down, and I could never watch the fight just from a fan point of view. But now I do it with every weight class because I'm finding that if I look at the fighters from my perspective and from what I can do in the octagon, then I'm going to learn things from them. So it helps me keep an open mind and to see new techniques that are being used.
Cung recently failed a drugs test. What do you think about the current situation with the PEDs in MMA?
Well, it's a problem in every sport, and it's no surprise that it's a problem in MMA. We're getting on top of the drug testing thing though, and I think that 2015 is going to be a real game changer for mixed martial arts and for the UFC to really kind of start shutting this problem down and penalising people for it.
Do you think 12 months is harsh enough?
Well, for Cung it is, because he's kind of an old man now, and he can't be out for very long. But for 12 months for another guy, it would be frustrating. But at the same time, it's the punishment for me is to be caught and to be seen by the fans as cheating, and that really is a punishment in itself.
What's your opinion on the current rise of Conor McGregor?
I think he's excellent. I'm fascinated by him, as everybody else is. He's got a real. He's very charismatic. He's got a real star power, and obviously the UFC can see that as well. The interesting thing is going to be watching him match up against the top 5 in the division, and unfortunately most of them are matched up right now, so it's going to be difficult to see. But nobody's really touched him yet. I mean, the only person that's taken him a distance he's fighting on the Stockholm card, and that's Max Holloway, and Holloway's a real tough fighter for 22. So it just really depends on how he matches up with this top 5, and at the moment he seems unbeatable, but nobody's unbeatable,
I think Dana White said recently that he thinks that it would make sense for him to have a title shot. What do you think about that?
My concern that it'd be one fight too soon. I think I'd like to see him have one more, but you know, Dana's the one that makes the decision, so it's up to him. I'd like to see him get, you know, possibly the winner of the Cub Swanson Frankie Edgar fight to start with. I know he's mentioned about moving up a weight class to get a fight as well, so maybe he'll need to do that to stay active. I'd just like to see him have another test before he steps in with the champion.
And we want to get some predictions and some breakdowns on some upcoming fights as well. Can you give us your breakdown on the Jose Aldo and Chad Mendes fight?
I think Chad Mendes is going to cause him some problems this time. I think that, particularly from Aldo's perspective, he knows that he's beaten him before, and he doesn't really see Chad Mendes as a great deal of a challenge. But the alpha male team are destroying right now. They're all looking good, and you know, to have Dillashaw there, you know, and have a champion in the gym, it really just spurs everybody else on. So I think we're going to see some great things from Chad Mendes. Obviously, he's going to struggle with the reach advantage that Aldo's got, but his wrestling's, you know, very, very good, and he's a powerful fighter. So it's going to be an interesting fight, and I think that Chad Mendes is going to really expose some weaknesses in Aldo's game for the rest of the division.
And Luke Rockhold and Michael Bisping?
That for me is a tough fight for Michael. I really think that Rockhold's, you know, he's a contender in the division, and he's going to be a difficult one for Michael to get past. Having said that, if Mike wins it, he's straight back in the running for a title, in my opinion. You know, Mike's been a mainstay in the division for so long now. It's kind of difficult to count him out, and he's one of those fighters that just finds a way to win, and he always has been from early on in his career. We used to train together before he had his first pro fight, and he's always been a great athlete, and he's always, you know, found a way out of a problem. Whether he can find a way out of the Rockhold problem or not, I don't know.
Shogun Hua and Jimi Manuwa?
I think Jimi Manuwa wins this, to be honest. I've been a fan of Shogun for a long time, but you know, he's slowed down a little bit, and he does take a lot of punishment in his fights now, and you can't take a lot of punishment from Jimi Manuwa. He hits like a truck.
Cain Velasquez and Fabricio Werdum?
It's kind of difficult to call against Cain Velasquez, to be honest. I mean, you know, he fights like a lightweight and hits like a heavyweight, so it's going to be difficult for anybody to really contend against him. But if anyone's going to cause him some problems, it's going to be someone that's got a great ground game. Velasquez is really going to want to fight on the ground, given the fact that Werdum's got pretty good striking for a jiu-jitsu guy, and a reach advantage. So I would expect Cain to try and close the distance, but I don't know if he'd want to be on the ground with Werdum, because he's very, very tricky.
And John Jones and Daniel Cormier?
I don't know, to be honest. It's a difficult one to call. I mean, there's so much emotion going into that fight. It's really the one that can keep his head in the fight. If one of them gets too carried away, they're both so dangerous that it could be a quick night for either one of them. I think Cormier is a fantastic athlete. I mean, as we saw him throw down Henderson across the octagon a little while ago. Whether he can do that to John Jones or not, I don't know. And obviously, with Jones having, you know, such a long reach, Cormier's got to really work hard to get inside that and avoid elbows and knees, because that's the main problem for a guy of Daniel Cormier's size against John Jones, is getting caught with something sharp and getting cut.
Thank you for taking the time out to talk to us today. Hope you enjoy the fights on Saturday. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.